Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Serial Gaming here, and today before we begin, I want to give a huge shout out to two of my recent members, which is Zitak and Ice Wallow Cum. I actually pronounced your name properly this time. Anyway, thank you so much for subscribing to my membership. And for those who are new here, if you like my content today, please consider subscribing to my channel and like the video as well. And of course, if you want to further support my channel, there's a join button down there where you can actually join my membership to enjoy some additional benefits and perks. Alright, without further ado, we'll be continuing with our next FR down the line, which is Krile, and the newest upgrade, which is Auron as well. So Auron, basically, we start off with Auron. Auron gets a rework on all of his skill. He does have more HP dumps on all of his skills right now, but the best upgrade among all of this, including his crystal level 90, is his LD now starts at quest start, and the counter, which is really what you're looking forward with Auron, now counters with 3 AoE split HP attack, which is incredibly awesome. I'm just gonna say Auron is gonna be a very powerful unit. If you're a new player, do consider going for him alone. His alone is gonna make this banner worthwhile. That 3 HP dumps off turn is just totally insane. Don't compare Auron with Galoof and Gladiolus, which is gonna be released later down the line. They are all really good in their own specific way. So yes, I think Auron is very strong right now. Even the buff from his LD buff, as well as the improvement on his LD debuff, is all really party-wide friendly. So yep, I definitely recommend Auron as the upcoming going for unit. And being off turn, there's a lot of unit you can team him up with. With the upcoming FR, we'll be getting Reno as well as Detch, which both relies on the enemy getting turns to increase their HP condition. Although Detch is a little bit unique where the enemy must be paralyzed during their turn, so Auron will be totally good there. But for Reno, yep, having the enemy takes turns means that units that counters and off turns damage dealers like Auron would definitely benefits a lot. People even run dual Auron with Reno until Gladiolus, of course. So definitely consider going for Auron. He's a very strong, powerful tank. He protects the entire party, he heals himself, he has a very strong counter. Overall, I don't think that's much disappointment in going for Auron's kit. I think the only bad thing, if you compare Auron with other tanks, is that Auron doesn't actually have too much self-protection. He himself protects the other people except for himself. So you might want to have a little bit protection for Auron himself with your LD calls and everything, but most of the time Auron just gets the job done. So yep, I think he's a very strong unit, strong counter. The only problem, like I said, doesn't have any self-protection as compared to other tanks. So yeah, I think Auron, powerful unit, worth going for. Anyway, the next upcoming unit, which is Krile, is gonna have her FR here. All her skill does have a little bit of improvement except her skill 2, which is the self-buff skill. Sadly, the skill 2 doesn't increase the additional usage because she really needs that as a if you want to use her FA as a FR battery. Her lack of skill usage on her skill 2 is rather hard for her to continuously pump up that FR gauge. However, she does have some improvement on her LD. The buff right now started at quest start as well, so she doesn't have to apply her LD immediately, and you can just start with her EX, which is immediately available on quest start. So Krile also get improvement on her LD buff, which provides a more party-wide friendly aura. But that's not really what you're looking forward with, because Krile normally is going to be there to spam her skill 2 while actually doing some pseudo damage from her EX and her LD. Her EX now does 5 AoE HP attack and actually still have that very strong off-turn battery, but only for 5 turns sadly, because I really hope they actually improve that, because right now we have units like Signer, we have units like Warrior of Light's BT+, which already provides a constant battery to the entire party without having to rely on a certain amount of overhead buff like Krile, which only have lasted for 5 turns with her EX, so sadly they doesn't actually improve that. Anyway, Krile also gets her new FR, which now deals a 3 Thunder AoE split HP attack and has the same amount of bravery damage cap out and HP damage cap out as Kane. So yeah, like I said, this is gonna be the norm for most FR with a little bit differentiation here and there. Okay, so Krile FR ability actually relies, FR condition actually relies on two conditions. The first one is using a Thunder Elemental ability, which actually includes off-turn damage, so 5% every time someone does a Thunder Elemental attack. And Krile actually enchant the entire party with Thunder Elemental with her LD, so it's not really hard to apply this condition. The only problem you have to stick up for is Krile doesn't actually enchant true Thunder Elemental, which means that if the unit that you're running with already have an Elemental tied to their attack, then they won't have Krile's Thunder ability. Their off-turn probably won't trigger. I haven't tried this yet, but I'm pretty sure that's gonna be the case. And the other condition for Krile is actually very unique because it's recover other allies' bravery, and it only applies on Krile's turn. So it means that whenever Krile use her skill 1 or her skill 2, which recovers the allies' battery, and of course her EX and her LD, all of the skill itself actually helps Krile improve that condition. But it doesn't improve when other allies does it. So this is not really the best condition, but otherwise a little bit selfish. But then again, it hugely helps Krile when she spams her skill 2 to supercharge this particular FR itself. What I'm talking about is because her skill 2 is instant turn and it buries the entire party, so it's similar to Penelo spamming her skill 1 and skill 2, which I performed before in Kane's FR. Kane's FR while in the air with Penelo spamming her skill 1 and skill 2 actually add up to 55%, whereas for Krile it'll add up to 80% if you do it correctly per turn if you use her skill 1. So that is very huge for a unit that can supercharge her own FR, especially given how early we are at this stage. 80% is actually similar to what Cam FR can perform for a damage dealer, although the condition is slightly different. Of course, Cam FR is still miles better, but I'm just saying that currently what we have, Krile is gonna be absolutely bonker with that supercharge. Although I really hope they actually improve this condition to in which her EX, which applies for 5 turns battery to the entire party, can actually fulfill that condition for 5 turns. Because her EX technically is still Krile's providing her allies batteries instead of the allies providing themselves. So that actually should be able to fulfill the condition even though it doesn't in JP. I hope they actually improve that condition to let it at least have that effect so Krile can be more usable far later in the future with her FR. Anyway, if you want to improve her FR, of course, like I said, you want to go for units that does off-turn or counters, but they doesn't have any elemental tied to their attack except the Thunder enchant that Krile provided with her LD buff. Units such as Kane, such as Freya, such as c90 are example of off-turn unit. Do note that units such as Size, which have Dark Elemental, doesn't actually help in this situation. Like I said, I may be wrong because I haven't tested it out yet, but I'm pretty sure that would be the case. And of course, counter and trap users such as Firion, Auron or Maria actually also helps a lot in this department. Again, if you're running units like Leon, which already has an elemental tied to his attack, it probably won't trigger Krile's FR condition. And I'm gonna try a new composition since Size is out of the table. I'm thinking of going for Ace and Laguna with Krile, and then exchange Laguna out with Kane coming in. With this particular team comp in mind, I actually want to see whether each of Ace trap will trigger Krile's FR condition. So it means that every time Krile supercharged with her skill 1, with Ace triggering the trap, it can actually goes up to, let's see, it will be 10% each turn from Ace, and then another 5% from Kane and 75% from Krile. So with this setup, I should be able, if judging from what my theory is right, I should be able to at least get 90% per turn or per action in this case. Again, I'm not sure whether it works. That's what I have in mind for my team composition, but I'm pretty sure it might trigger. I'm pretty sure it's gonna work, but let's just hope for the best. Although do note in mind that Ace trap only triggers up to 6 turns, so I may not be able to completely trigger all the trap damage from Ace, unlike Size, which has 15 turns. But that is just what I have in mind right now. So Krile overall, in my opinion, is just a very strong unit right now. She has Imperil, she has Enchant, she constantly batteries the entire party, she even is unbreakable herself. And of course, she has that pseudo paralysis, which can be really clutch if you apply it in the right timing. The only problem I see with Krile is she doesn't provide much protection to the entire party because all she provides is battery and she doesn't have heals in her kit. So you might want to be careful when you're running her with units that actually needs her batteries to constantly stay in protection mode. For example, Vincent, Laguna, Squall that doesn't have any bravery refund after using their skill. Krile can help battery themselves up, but Krile definitely cannot help them anymore after that. Except of course the paralysis that we'll talk about. And of course, Krile relies a lot on batteries, so Brave Gain Up unit is always appreciated, like Maria, Selfie, Cutest, all these are actually good units to run with Krile, although I argue that Cutest is a little bit different since Krile has a little bit off turn in her kit. So yeah, Cutest delaying the enemy doesn't really help in that department. Krile's on-turn damage is not the best, but she does have very good utilities in my opinion, so I definitely like to have her in my party, and I do recommend a little bit on new players to get for her, especially if you skip Kayn. Because if you skip Kayn and you're waiting for Cam, I do suggest having at least one FR before Cam's FR banner, although technically you can just wait out until Tidus or Cam, it's all up to you, but my recommendation is to have one FR to just make your life easier. For me, Krile, if you have Kayn, then you don't need Krile, and if you have Krile, you probably won't need Kayn. And if you're debating whether to go for Krile or Braska, I'm just gonna say that Krile can supercharge her FR condition way more than Braska, but Braska has a better FR gauge charge batteries longevity compared to Krile because of his constant skill refund from his EX. So yep, I think both are a little bit different, but for me personally, I prefer to use Krile a little bit more because of how usable she is even without her FR in her utilities. Especially the fact that Braska doesn't even enchant the entire party with fire bravery attack, even though his FR actually relies on that. Anyway, this is about my comments on Krile. Personally, this banner, I think it's worthwhile if you don't have both. It's almost a very high value banner, a high to very high value because of Auron, how good Auron is here, and how actually pretty overlooked on how Krile's awesomeness here. But of course, if you have Auron already, and you're thinking whether or not you want to go for Krile's FR instead of just having her LD alone, then I think that her FR alone might not be as potent as you want it to be because you already have most of the kit here. Krile function well just with her LD if you're just using her for her utility. But of course, if you appreciate that supercharge, I definitely recommend Krile in the early banner. She's probably one of the few FR that actually allows that supercharge to be really beneficial with her FR condition. Yeah, so that's my comment about Krile today. What about you guys? Are you guys pulling for this banner? Krile's FR partner, by the way, is a Relm, so that's a huge bonus as well because I really like both of these characters. Are you guys pulling for this particular character's FR, or are you guys just gonna chase for Auron, which you have or might not have? Or are you guys just gonna skip entirely and just wait for Braska? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video, guys. Cheers.